Hi, I'm Claire, and I just wanted to talk to you about a blog post I just did called The Culture of the Introverted. The Cult of the Introverted, that is. It's not a problem often talked about, but most of the world is run by extroverts. People skills are extremely valuable. If you enjoy people, you can really develop these. Now, obviously, like any skill, it can be learned, but you're at an advantage if you're one of those people who draws energy from other people and those interactions. The tech world isn't like this. The 80s and 90s favored sort of isolation learning. You were very unlikely to have a lot of people around you who understood computers. And while being the unpopular kid does not make you smarter, being the unpopular kid was meant that you were more likely to spend time in the library or the computer lab and tinker away with those things rather than other activities. So in the Apple II and the 90s developer land I grew up in, if you could sit away and you could tinker with this machine without anyone encouraging or understanding what you were doing, it was much more likely that you were to develop a technical ability. No one is an island though, and we all need people to a greater or lesser extent. Someone like me, I need to interact with people every day or I go a little bit bonkers. And I have friends who can interact with people only once a month and be fine. Now, in the early developer world, the Uber geeks dominate our industry, the CarMax and such. A lot of people who are now tech directors and in the high level senior engineering roles they developed their technical ability in that time, and then when the studio wave and the commercialization of our industry had enough ability that they were mostly above that wave. And so even in the modern environment of the studio, where you require people skills and engineering skills, there is a large amount of introverts in lead positions or in senior positions. And it has kind of set the tone moving forward for tech teams and engine teams particularly. And it's an environment that prides itself on technical ability, but has almost sacrificed people skills on that altar and almost views people skills negatively. And if you're someone who is extroverted or confident, you are often viewed with suspicion. Social skills do not nullify technical ability. There's no linkage between introversion and technical skill. Obviously, there's historical causation there, but you can be a very gregarious person and have highly technical abilities. In fact, some of the smartest people I know, smartest academics, are very fit and very charismatic. The mind is the body and the body is the mind. They're not different. And often, exercising and things helps with those kind of activities. So, as I said, the world is largely ruled by extroverts, and the current studio system does favor the people who can do the deep tech and also talk to people, and serve me very well in the studio environment. I've benefited from my mix of skills. I'm currently in a very technical team. It's very quiet, and I'm in a department that is very engineering heavy. I'm kind of battling with that at the moment. It's stretching my people skills. I talk to a lot of studios, but I don't have a team to bounce off. I'm not seeing artists on a day-to-day basis, not seeing designers on a day-to-day basis. So generally, I'm not interacting with many extroverts, and that can be very difficult. And introverts don't often see it as worth their time to consider others because they haven't developed that people skill. Well, that's a generalization, but it's worth noting. Not having people to bounce off is very hard for me. So the bipolar nature of the roles got me thinking about the introversion or the cult of introversion, especially in the high levels of tech of our industry, and the lack of empathy we are often accused of in the games industry and where that maybe comes from. The importance of these game hubs and developing your support network, and as one of my friends say, counting your spoons. You really need to examine yourself, know what you need, and what environment you're in, and is that environment healthy for you? You need to understand the people you work with. You need to be compassionate to their needs while understanding your own needs. Though I caution the imbalance, I don't want us to go to a heavily extroverted world like most of the world is. Because if you go to, I was recently in San Francisco, and if you see the bullshitters and the money chasers and all of that sort of startup culture, you see where that leads, and that's not a positive place. I like an environment where ability is valued, though at the moment I think I wouldn't say villainize social ability, but I'd say we're skeptical of it, and often we call extroverted individuals' technical ability into question. And I have been infected with this attitude. I often worry, have I become another bullshit person with a gob that just runs off and doesn't do enough technical stuff? So I ask you to just consider that everyone needs someone. Social skills don't nullify technical ability. And examine yourself, examine your needs and your environment, and just talk to people. Next time you're at the coffee machine, maybe have a word, or maybe if someone doesn't like to be talked to, use I am a bit more. But just consider the environment that you're creating for others. Anyway, it's kind of a silly experiment, me just saying what was in my blog post, but I figured I'd do it because some people don't like reading, and it's there. And there's a link in the description if you want to see the text. That's a bit more concise and shorter than this. Ciao.